Okay, everyone have a chance to share? So why did you come? Who wants to share out? Yell out, why did you come? Anybody, why did you come?
Fight for equity and justice.
Fight for equity and justice. Same. Other folks? Immigrant rights.
Because there is a lot of work to be done and we need to do this work no matter where this work is.
There's a lot of work to be done. We need to do the work. Yeah.
I came because I want to make a difference for education and also to be the voice of all of those that couldn't come.
To be the voice for those who could not come. Good. Support our colleagues in Florida. Great. Support Florida teachers. Yeah. Families here. And important work. Great. Yeah, and I think, look, again, I don't think we should understate what's going on in Florida. I mean, we have, I don't know if you all saw what Ron DeSantis was tweeting yesterday. He was tweeting that Donald Trump is too soft on LGBTQ plus people. And he used a statement that Donald Trump made after the Pulse attack here in Orlando, where people were shot dead, and Donald Trump actually said he's grieving, and so DeSantis was attacking him for being soft, too soft. You know, we have a place here in Florida where they're actually trying to outlaw a whole way of thinking. They call it woke as an attack. They're actually trying to outlaw a whole way of seeing the world. A way of seeing the world that takes into account power and oppression. The only places you outlaw ways of seeing are in fascist societies. That's the only place you do that. And so they are constantly trying to have us focus on the wrong stuff. There's a great, I don't know if people saw that Wanda Sykes special recently, but she has a great quote. She says, "Until a drag queen walks into a school and beats 8 kids to death with a copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, I think you're focusing on the wrong thing." All right? And they are, and it's on purpose. Because the stuff they're really moving is unpopular. It's unpopular to cut people's health care. It's unpopular to have people dying because you're working 2 full-time jobs and you can't survive. It's unpopular to give huge corporation handouts as people don't have enough money to live. It's unpopular to basically turn our society into socialism for the rich, right? That stuff is unpopular, but they don't want us to focus on it. So instead, they're focusing on this fake woke attacks or focusing on attacking drag queens. It's a distraction from our work. It's a distraction from our work, and it's an attack on the very core of us. And by the way, we may not consider that we're under attack, but one of the main groups that they are attacking is us. Every single one of us. Their main group, and this is from the Supreme Court on down, is unions. In fact, the New York Times had an article a few weeks ago, where these folks, these right-wing extremists, and I don't even use the word conservative, because it's not conservative what they're doing. It is not conservative, it is extreme. And I think we have to differentiate between that. It is extreme what they're doing. But their number one threat in the U.S. is not poverty. It's not people not having health care. Their number one threat is the president of the teachers union. That's who they say is their number one threat. They say that. They very clearly say that. And if you look at when Randy Weingarten from AFT, our affiliate, sister, brother, sibling union, went to Congress, and you see how they talk to her, right? You see the attacks. And they say, you are the number one threat to America. And that's us. We are the last group, we are now the biggest unionized workforce in this country. And we are in every community across the state. And the work we do is about connecting with our communities and our students, and that makes us a threat to them. And we should be clear about that. So part of what my job is here as president is also on some level to start to think about why we come, right? We all come here with individual stories, but once we get here, we're also collective. So I just want to share a few of my thoughts. I just give a little context that you may not be aware of. The first thing you may not be aware of is 1 out of 9 students in this country are in school in California. 1 out of 9 students in this country are in school in California. We have a single local here who's bigger than most state delegations, right? And when you look at our membership, because of right to work rules, because our membership, in terms of our membership, is even higher than that percentage-wise in NEA. Our union has a lot to celebrate. There is no state union that has the democratic process as we do. There are none. There is no state union where we have the kind of struggles that we are leading, statewide and as a local. We just had a strike where our members went on strike in UTLA. In solidarity, hit the lines in the pouring rains, in solidarity with their cafeteria workers, their aides, right? That's unheard of in a lot of times in the labor movement. That's unheard of. We have people here who are leading stuff in your local, and as hard as it seems in your local, please believe me when I tell you, you are light years ahead of what's going on in most places in this country. You are light years ahead of it. And that is something to honor. Our work, and some of this, by the way, NEA knows this. You're going to see, we're going to be talking about community schools here at the RA floor. It's going to be our folks on the stage talking about it. Nationally, I think there was $300 million invested in community schools. In California, it's $4 billion alone. Again, I don't want to ever say it's the panacea. It is not. In most places, it is not happening the way it should happen. But there are places where it's become an amazing, powerful way of changing our connections with communities, about changing our relationship to our work. So that's one reason we came. We have an obligation in that we have an obligation to really be a lighthouse model for NEA. The other thing is certain issues are national. Certain issues are national. The fact that we don't get Social Security and our spouses, or we don't get it if they pass, that is unconscionable. That is unconscionable. And by the way, there's just a handful of states who are like that. And that, by the way, came as an attack on workers and on unionized workers. The states do not have it are states like ours, where we have our own pension program. So during the Reagan years, he said, these greedy teachers, they have 2 pensions, right? We pay into this, right? I like to call us greedy teachers with our 1997, Honda Accords, Meanwhile, these billionaires are making, there's like 100 billionaires who make more than every kindergarten teacher in this country combined. And yet they choose to go after our pensions, right? But that is an issue that we can't win in California. We have to win that here. These issues around the Supreme Court. A Supreme Court who with every decision is turning back decades of struggle. Stuff that people died for. Voting rights that the civil rights movement won. LGBTQ plus rights that people struggled and fought for. Affirmative action. This is just this week. We can't win that alone in California. We have to be part of a broader struggle. California also plays a role, frankly, an important role when we need to push NEA. I think y'all remember when NEA brought Arnie Duncan to the floor here a few years ago. And it was our California delegates who on the stage opened up a can of whoop ass on, right? And by the way, that's an important thing to note. What I'm talking about is not only Republican, Democrat. Because for a decade or so or more, it was Democratic elected leaders who were selling us out, right? So we can't get that twisted. This is workers. It's about education. It's about all of us. But if you look today, What Biden ran on about public, and I'm not saying anyone is perfect, I just said that. But when he ran on public education is light years better than what Obama did. And that's part of our national work. That's part of the work that happened in NEA, and it's part of the work that we did in California. The other thing is, just so we're clear, we should take a lot of pride of who we are in California, but we're not perfect. We have a funding system for education in California that is anachronistic and has based on racism at its core. We used to have in California free UCs, Cal States, community colleges, the best education system in the nation, the lowest class sizes. And that changed. Someone said, yes, we did. People remember that. My grandma taught in LA in those times. That went away, not on accident. That went away in the 70s with Prop 13, which they framed as little old ladies were losing their houses because their property taxes were going up, so we needed to take care of that. That was how they publicly framed it. How many of you are paying 1973 taxes on your houses? Mazel tov. 2 people. Right? The rest of us aren't. But you know who is? Disneyland is in California. Chevron is in California. It's the biggest, it's the single biggest transfer of wealth from working people to corporations in the history of our nation. And it's been going on for decades. And it's devastating, and they didn't say this out front on the commercials, but behind the scenes what they're saying is we're not going to pay for schooling for these immigrant kids coming to California now. Because when they built it in the 50s, it was for migrants coming across to California, the Dust Bowl, the Great Recession. When they made it go away is when it was immigrants coming to our state. It had racism at its core. And we took our best shot at it. We built the biggest coalition around Prop 15 a few years ago, and we're going to have to take it on again. Because Prop 30 and Prop 55 are also sunsetting. So we're looking at that. That is number one on our goals to how we think about it. But I say that to say that while we look down on, not look down, but while there's fear about what's going on in Florida, we got stuff on our own house to keep in order as well, right? Similar, Prop 187, 227, for a lot of the stuff they're doing right now, we wrote this script in California. They're learning it from us, right? And it's not just, look, a few weeks ago I was in Glendale, California. I was out there when it turned into a vicious assault and riot around people attacking trans folks and educators who dared to teach about LGBTQ stuff, right? That's happening in California. It's happening in Temecula. By the way, just on a side note, I got a bunch of texts. My aunt, Jackie Goldberg, was on MSNBC. I don't know if you have a chance to. She's 80 years old, and she's trending on TikTok. I told her that. She said, follow me. No, I'm just kidding. But look at her speech. Look at her speech she gave. If you Google Jackie Goldberg, LGBTQ+, LA Unified School Board, look at her speech, what she talks about, what was going on in LA. In LA, around teaching a book where they mention that some people may have 2 dads or 2 moms. Look at the viciousness that went on there. Here's another thing about California what we shouldn't ever feel happy about. California, as I said, is about 1/9 of the US population. We have 51% of the unsheltered people in this nation live in California. 51%. I don't think we even realize how intense it is until you go other places. 51%. And I was looking online about the top US cities with homelessness. Los Angeles, California, New York City, San Jose, California, Seattle, Oakland, California, Santa Ana, California, Honolulu, San Bernardino, Riverside, Stockton, Santa Rosa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Oxnard, California, Eugene, Spring, Oregon, Bakersfield, California. That's like the top 10. Like 8 of them or 10 out of the top 12 are California. You don't think that impacts our students and our work? You don't think that impacts us? Many of us drive an hour and a half to get to work. We can't afford to live or buy anywhere near where we work. And here's the exciting thing. We saw the largest decrease in poverty we had seen in generations. It went from 17% to 9% for childhood poverty during COVID because of all these programs. 17% to 9%. So what do? We eliminate those programs, right? And now it's going right back up. So I say that to say we should have pride in who we are. But we should also know that our struggle is real in California. We should never look down on other states as if we got all our shit together, right? We have a lot of work to do. The other thing is we have a lot in common with these folks. Because while things in California can feel better, if you ask people at our school sites, don't you feel exciting about teaching? Isn't it just so empowering? We're in California. We're going to look at you like you're crazy. I don't think people are going, we don't start off every morning in our schools, we are CTA, right? That's not what we're doing. It's more like, how many days left? 9. Yeah, right? The same conditions we're facing nationally is what we're facing in California. Top-down curriculum, attacks on us, the deprofessionalization of our work, disconnected from each other, from our students. To really get the power of what we're doing here, it has to be connected to our school sites. It has to be connected to our work, right? Because one thing that we all have across this country is we really need to redouble our efforts to make our union alive at our work sites. To make it alive, and so our members aren't going to be able to take on these big, overwhelming issues if they don't have confidence that we could take on the stuff at our work sites. And so we need to be thinking about that as we talk about resolutions, as we talk about stuff, is how does this resonate? How do I go back from here and engage with my members at my school sites to put this national context about what we're feeling every day? And the irony about that, again, is sometimes we can learn, as developed as our unions are in California, sometimes we can learn from folks who don't have that at all. It's no accident that remember the Red State Rebellions like 5 years ago? Those took place across this nation in places where they don't even have the right to strike. Rural places where they stood with their communities, right? And they frankly took on their own unions who were trying to make a deal. They said, no, we're striking for ourselves and for our communities, and we're doing, even if we don't have a union, we are fearless, and we're about to do this. And then the union put their arms around it like we should. But there's lessons from us to learn. There's lessons for us to share with others about California, and there's lessons for us to learn. And so in conclusion, I hope that what we see here today, the why we came, hopefully it's about pride in ourselves and our incredible work we do, which is incredible. And you all in this room, I see you, I know you, and I know what you do to keep our union alive. And we should never take that for granted. Every generation has to do that. And I know the people in here who are giving their lives to make that happen. So we should have pride. And we should also be here with humility. We should not look down on any other member in any other state who's struggling for the same stuff we need. And frankly, maybe sometimes there's lessons we can learn from them. And the last thing is, let's leave here with a connection. Connection to each other, connection to the other states, and a real stronger connection to the struggles we have to lead as we go back. And so I thank you all for being here. I really do. I appreciate you taking the time. I know there's a lot of other places you could have been, but you decided to be here this weekend. We want to honor your time. We want to honor your work. We hope we have a great week, and thank you for being here.